7:01, the Invasives Remediation Working Group is about to start. So we have Pam, me, Patty, Laura, and Lori. The minutes, Patty said you're getting to
Yes, and we're going to approve both sets next
at
month.
the same time. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Pam, could you clarify Mike Cotta's role as, quote, tree warden?
The best I can tell you is that he was, I'm not sure if he was voted in or how that works as the town tree warden. Maybe Patty knows or Lori, but he is our tree warden, but he does not work for the town.
He's a volunteer.
He does not get paid by the town. He doesn't work for a town department. He is considered the tree warden, and from what I understand about that role is that he would advise us on
advice and counsel.
Right.
Okay.
But I have hired him. He has done some work for me, as well as other tree companies that I have worked with too. So I would get a different couple quotes. And if Mike came in and was more reasonable and could do the job when I needed it to be done, I would choose the lower bidder. So he has done some jobs for me.
Okay.
So would you say, just a quick, so I see, Lewis was at Cherry Lawn all last week. So I know we do work with Lewis, and we also do work with Orchard as well. Right. Is that correct? And
I don't know who Lewis is.
Lewis Tree? They were at Cherry Lawn a whole bunch. Maybe they were hired by Eversource or something. Maybe
so, because
actually they were working along. Now that I think about it, they were working along the road at Brookside for like the last week or two. Maybe they were just parking there to have lunch and enjoy the.
Because we don't, I have never seen that invoice.
Okay. So Orchard
Orchard does a lot of work for us. Okay. Mike has done some work for us. So to answer Mary Louise's question, in terms of any tree work that we want to consider, I would prefer to get at least 2 quotes, if not 3.
All right. I contacted Bartlett and they wanted to come out and see what we were talking about before they would give any kind of an estimate and so on, which has brought me back to, I wanted to find out exactly what our position was with Mike Cotta, and if everyone agrees that is, in a sense, the next step we should take to get a quote, to get somebody to come out, look at what we've accomplished so far, and make a suggestion if, in fact, we do have to use an herbicide to eliminate these new shoots from coming up from where we cut the 35 trees and so on, and come up with some kind of estimate.
So Mary Louise, I don't have the agenda in front of me. Do you have the agenda in front of you?
Yeah. We're up to update on future initiatives with invasive removal.
Great. So yes, we've been talking about ways to eliminate the trees of heaven without them coming back. And I know that Susan Daly feels very strongly about the cut in the trees, but I do agree. I think that it would be great to have some professional feedback, and maybe we can get somebody to come online with me, or I can chat with somebody on the side and then present it back to the committee.
Okay, and also the timing as to what the optimum time would be to do that. And then, of course, how much.
Right. So I think it'd be more efficient if it comes from my office.
All right.
And I reach out to a couple different. Now, what I would need to know is exactly which trees that we're talking about, because like Bartlett said, he's not going to give you a quote without going down there and seeing the work.
Correct.
So I would need to identify which trees we're talking about.
Do you, off the top of your head, know exactly where those 35 trees are that we cut down?
Oh, so are you talking about the ones we've already cut down?
Yes. Yeah. Oh. Those are the ones basically that are coming back to life.
Okay. Susan Daly was talking about the ones that are still standing And instead of cutting them to slice
introduce,
them.
introduce the herbicide right into them.
Right.
But then also the issue is making sure that the ones we spent the money on so far, they don't come back either, when they are coming back.
So the ones that have been cut, are the stumps still there?
The stumps are there, but the sprouts are coming up 3 to 4 feet.
Right, because of
Yeah,
the way they grow.
correct.
So you may want to show them where the trees have been cut also and include that in it so that we could discourage the new growth. Maybe they could apply an herbicide to the stumps in addition to
This,
and
yeah,
But I know our guys could do that too.
but they're
Okay.
not licensed to apply herbicides, you said.
You know, Sandy was saying that they didn't need a license to apply that. It's to spray the herbicide. So I'll clarify that with him.
yeah, if you paint it on, I think it's okay.
Yeah.
That when I spoke to Mike Cotta, that's what he told me, that it's the spraying that's the problem. If you actually paint it on the cut, you're okay.
So it would be very efficient, financially efficient for our park crew to do it, since they know where the locations are where they cut down most
Correct.
of those trees.
Correct.
So but I still would like to get some professional feedback on, doing this. And
also the optimum herbicide to use, the safest, the best one, and so on.
Right.
Yep, Pam, we've used a service based in town called Putnam Tree. And they've come in and, we had some of our bushes a couple of years ago were turning kind of yellow, and they spray them with some oil and something. And they've come out and we've had different tree issues and whatever. And they were actually referred to us by Karen Hewen.
Okay.
So, I think when the recommendation comes out of Karen, I generally feel good about it. So they might be a good resource to check with, because they do different types of treatments.
Would you text me that name so I don't lose it by tomorrow?
Yep.
Putnam Trees.
Putnam Tree.
All right, so maybe we can get that done
Sure.
before our next meeting and make some progress on that.
And Mary Louise, per our notes from the last meeting, Sandy had identified some additional ones. There were 7 Tree of Heavens at McGuan.
Yeah.
There were 6 behind the Challenger field. The 7 Trees of Heaven by McGuan were along the driveway pathway coming down. So if you drive down towards the baseball field and where we're doing all that work right now, Pam, it's like opposite. It's right opposite of that. So it's on the right-hand side. It would be opposite the backyards of the people on the street, in front. But so that was 7 Trees of Heaven at McGuan, and 6 that were at McGuan, but behind the Challenger field. And then he said 2 trees were at first base.
Okay.
So that's 15 at McGuan. And I would say that listening to Sandy and his crew, and also listening to Susan and the rest of you all, we need to have a really specific plan before we take anything down, right? Or even cut and spray, because particularly take something down, because we don't want to have new ones sprout up. I will say that the guys had a concern when I was watching them do work down at Cherry Lawn. I was asking more about different things. They said they understood both sides, and they understood, what Susan had recommended. And a lot of that was on the Pennsylvania, University or Penn State website. But their concern, which I think is a valid one, is that we'll have to think about the size of the tree, because if they end up just cutting and spraying, and then a tree eventually dies, could it suddenly fall and become a safety issue? So I think all the new stuff that came down, we can address that right away, as you were saying, Mary Louise. That should be easy to go in and have them identify it and do those cuts. And those are small little ones to the ground. But some of the bigger ones, the ones at McGuan, I didn't think were that big. But that was an interesting point coming from the end user, our guys that are there every day. So I kind of see both sides, and so maybe
they're concerned that in cutting into the bark to administer the pesticide, the herbicide, they're afraid that they're going to kill the tree. Is that what you're saying? That when the tree dies, then it's
that it could fall over on its own, versus is it better to just take it out? But we now know how expensive it is to take it out. And there's a really, they sprout up right away. It was right. So that's a really,
and elsewhere. It's not like they're just growing back.
Yes, they're spreading across.
They're spreading across and growing.
Yeah, and multiplying. Yeah. So just something, I'm just sharing feedback from multiple sides.
So it'll be interesting to hear what the tree experts have to say then.
Okay.
I agree.
All right. The next item is
Mary Louise, can I hold you right there for a
Sure.
second? I did speak with Susan Daly today, and she wanted me to add to this agenda item, the first one, that she is working with the Boy Scouts, and Joanne Gabriel is going to help guide her with removing invasives at Wheat Beach in the dunes areas.
right. I also met with her and she said she wants to wait basically till more towards the spring because she doesn't want them taking things out before we have a chance to plant something else so that it doesn't look so empty.
Right. So she just want to make sure that I announce that.
That's great.
Yes.
As long as they're the trees and the bushes that aren't going to multiply.
Yes.
And if they are, then we need a plan for it.
I think she's talking more about on the dunes, I think it's a lot of it is the mugwort.
It is the mugwort.
It's a lot of mugwort.
So Laura, when they pull the mugwort, will the Boy Scouts have the ability to, get all the way deep in the ground? Like if you were really doing it for poison ivy and getting the whole bottom out, or is the mugwort an issue where it comes back? I mean, I know Tree of Heaven is a whole different gig, but if we
depends on how old the mugwort is. If it's been there a long time, then the roots get sort of matted. If you know what I mean, it's almost like a carpet, sort of like what they have at Middlesex Middle School. I mean, they just mow it down now. That's about all they can do.
I'd say it's been a few years, Laura. I mean, a few years ago, we had beautiful, beautiful seagrasses.
Yeah.
And it's really just the last 2 or 3 years that I've noticed that the mugwort's taken over to the point now where the seagrass is almost gone. But
I should be able to get it up, and they'll be revisiting it for the next couple of years. I mean, that's just the way it's going to be, but they'll get the majority of it up, I'm sure.
I think we're all going to be down there helping.
Yeah. Well, if we know, let me know when they're planning on doing it. I'm happy to bring my shovel
down there with my digger. Digger.
We'll find out more tomorrow night at our commission meeting.
Okay, good.
Okay. Now the next item was to discuss the fiscal year 24 budget towards invasives remedial work.
So we have 18,000. It's either 15 or 18. I'm drawing a blank at this moment.
I think
is that under operations? Because I'm looking at the capital budget that you had put out, and I don't see any.
I think it would be operating.
Okay, I only had the capital.
I feel like it was.
Okay.
I believe it was 18 because I believe we put 25 in, and Kate cut it back, saying that she didn't have enough backup that we would use that much. So I'm pretty certain it's 18.
Okay, but just to step back, we were going to go over how, Sandy was going to start doing more work at Cherry, and then we sort of where they are on that.
So I did reach out to him tonight. I did not get a response from him. Oh, maybe I did. Just looking here. No, but so I know that they have been starting some work at Cherry Lawn.
They've done a lot.
Yes,
They've done
I did.
a lot. It's
I
the,
did
the
mention.
section, like B. Remember, we had the A, B, and the C. So they're now going what's behind the playground instead of more just down towards the pond. They've cleared out. They've cut back a lot, a good amount.
Right, and I also mentioned to Sandy Lori about the vines that were hanging in that parallel from the gazebo. So he will definitely take care of that. But he said the ground is too wet right now to get back right there.
Mhm.
So he has it on his radar. He gets it. He understands it. And when I think once he gets some of that work done at Cherry Lawn, they're going to move over to Weed Beach. Hopefully, and it looks good. Like we're going to get the brush cutter that we're asking for with ARPA money.
Approved.
Approved there. Then the Board of Selectmen tonight. Hopefully it gets through there. And so if we get that brush cutter, that just will put us way ahead of the game.
What exactly is a brush cutter, please?
Well, it's almost like a claw. So it can go in and just grab everything. The vines that right now he's got to get up, have some sort of truck to get him up there and cut it physically.
Yeah.
This brush cutter will come in and grab it and claw it. So all the brush at Weed Beach and the brush at Cherry Lawn, it's an attachment that already fits on one of our machines.
Okay.
And it literally will save them so much time, and they can go so quicker with this brush cutter.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. So it's $12,000, or $12,500. So we're anxiously awaiting that piece because I think that's also going to save us some funding on the Weed Beach Meadow and Trail project.
Okay. And if that got approved, or what would the timing for approval of that be? Patty, do you know?
Well, yeah. So ARPA committee voted on it on Monday to approve it, and then it just goes to the selectmen. It doesn't have to go further on to the RTM. And so the selectmen, all things being equal, will be approving it in the next, I think their meeting starts at 7 or 7:30. We'll approve it soon. And then to Lori's question, Pam, how quickly can we go out and get it?
Oh, I believe that they have.
Ryan gave you that info, right?
Sorry?
Was Ryan was the one who was point on that, you said? Didn't you tell me a name? Ryan?
Brian was the point person on the trailers. So the brush cutter, no, I believe it's in stock.
Okay.
So we would get it right away.
Cool.
Okay. All right. The last meeting, we also talked about doing some kind of an educational campaign for the community.
So Joanne and I have been speaking, and we were hoping to get an entomologist to come to the library and offer it through the library.
Okay.
So we're reaching out to a woman who works for the Connecticut Agricultural Experiment Station in New Haven. And
Can you say the name of that again? The Connecticut what?
Agricultural Experiment Station.
Thank you.
Okay.
Laura, is there any possibility of doing that through Parks and Recreation rather than the library?
Where would you have it, at Town Hall?
Well, we could have it in the Mather Center. We could have it in one of our rooms. I don't know how many people would be expected, but just curious, that would be nice to have that added to our programs as well.
Sure. I'll talk to Joanne about that.
Or could we do it jointly with the library?
Well, the library wouldn't charge you anything, right, Laura?
I don't believe so, no.
Right, I don't believe so either. I'm sure their amenities and their room facilities are better than ours. Maybe Mather Center is, that's new, and I'm sure that probably maybe would be equal. But
They've got a good mailing list, though, beyond ours, right, Pam? You've got a great mailing list, but they have a whole separate mailing list. And I mean, they pack rooms for all of their events.
They do.
So I think it would be interesting to have it there.
So we were
I understand you want to have the connection with it, though. Pardon?
Yeah, we were focusing on the spotted lanternfly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we wanted to invite the entomologist to speak, because, you know, what I know about spotted lanternfly would be a 3-sentence, you know,
Right.
conversation and it would be done. So,
Well, maybe the library might include our name with theirs.
I think that why should that be a difficulty? I think that,
Right.
you
I
know,
mean, it is talking about trees in our parks as well as neighboring our homes that should be looking out for the same thing.
right, exactly. So,
Laura, I saw Jim Cameron at the rules meeting the other day, and I gave your name a shout out. And I said, we're gonna, you know, if you haven't been contacted yet, Laura, we hope to have a kind of a Q&A with you and him. And he said, wonderful, look forward to it. So I understand you feel like you only got a 3-line sentence on the spotted lanternfly,
uh-huh.
but you could maybe get information from that woman that you're reaching out to who might come to the library and speak, but you could also still be talking about different other invasives that we talked about. Right?
I mean,
You
yeah.
still game to do that?
Well, isn't it kind of redundant if we're going to have an entomologist come speak? Couldn't that just be recorded for?
I don't know
So-
that he'll come. Does he go to the library to record it?
I think he would.
I don't know.
I bet he would. He goes to the paddle hut.
The library programming is often
Okay.
shown on Channel 79.
Okay.
Okay.
You know.
Do we have any idea timing wise? What are we talking about? When we would do this?
I don't know. Do you have a deadline on when?
There's not a deadline, but what do you think? I mean, since the garden season and so on seems to be wrapping up at this juncture, would it be of more interest January, February, you know, as you're starting to be more outside and everything becomes more pertinent?
This has no end. So
Okay.
you've got the flying insects right now, you've got the eggs right now, and then you're
Yes.
going to have the eggs hatching. So
Okay.
this is going to be an ongoing problem. So
it doesn't really matter.
it really doesn't matter. I mean, they're out there now. I killed one at Bartlett this week. So they're everywhere.
Oh,
So the sooner the better, then probably,
Okay.
correct?
Oh, I would think so. I would think so.
Okay.
But there's also a lot in the news already about it. So it's not as if we are,
correct.
you know, in the forefront of this. I'm sure people have heard about it. But it would be good to let people know that it's here and where we've seen it and what to do if you see eggs on trees.
Yes.
Correct.
Because
Yes.
that's going to be the thing that is going to mitigate the problem for us next spring.
In the
if we
spring.
Get
Yeah.
rid of the eggs.
So
now.
to do it over the winter and be able to show people because I don't know what to look for. Patty, I want you to walk with me one time and show me what to look for.
Patty B?
Yeah, you.
Yeah, where we saw it. And then there's I'm just trying to pull up, I sent this to somebody. There was this, I mean, next door Darien, people are talking about it all over at different spots. And somebody had something up this weekend about going to, I'm just looking for it. I can't find it right now, but I think it was at, it wouldn't have been at the Bronx Zoo. It was at the Botanical Gardens, right?
Yes, the botanical gardens have had it. Sure.
Correct. And so what they've done is they have a specific thing. If this is the place they're doing it, I'll send it to you all after this meeting when I pull it up. They have a board. They have they had a tree and they had nets there. So they had nets that were hanging there, and then they had a board that detailed the different phases of the spotted lanternfly and what you can do. And you know, some people are squirmish about smashing it or smushing it or whatever. So this was, you could just pick up the net and scoop it up and then put it in like a bag that they had there. It was really interesting. It was very hands-on. Several people were like, I want to go to see if I can catch them. But I'll forward you it. it was an excellent way to detail everything in a simple manner for people to understand and to participate in.
Okay. All right. So Laura, if you can go ahead and try to schedule that.
Sure, I'll talk to Joanne. So if the library is available, it's okay to have it there?
Of course. It was just,
Okay.
it came into my forefront. Of course, Parks and Rec, and here we are doing these meetings. So
Right.
it's
Okay.
totally fine. There's no issues.
Okay.
Now,
It was the Bronx Zoo. I just pulled it up. It was at the Bronx Zoo. So I'll send you, it was very clever. The bags in the trees are the spotted lanternfly traps, and it's got 4 photos. So I'll send it to you after this meeting.
I've even seen where they somebody had a vacuum and they were vacuuming them off of a tree.
That's what I read about that somewhere. The thing to be careful about then is that you then want to put it into a bag and then you want to put it underwater, right, and drown it,
Or
put it,
alcohol,
or yeah.
like a rubbing alcohol or something like that.
Ugh.
Oh, I thought you meant a good vodka.
You save the good vodka for yourself.
now, the other item we talked about a few months ago was putting together some kind of pictures to show the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Finance, and so on, regarding everything that we have been able to accomplish. What is the timing on that?
I mean, ideally, it would be nice to have it when we go into budget season, which, Pam, we usually go before the selectmen, like late January.
Yeah.
And then you got the Board of Finance. So it's nice to be able to, like, I've been known to go with handouts. Just saying, here, look at these pictures.
Well, there has been a huge improvement in what we have been able to accomplish. And if we're trying to get more money for this initiative, then that seems we should start thinking about putting that together.
Yep.
I have a lot of photos, so I'm happy to send them to anybody who wants to put them in a pretty slideshow or something. I have befores and afters, at least for a lot of Cherry Lawn.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know if we have. Do you have befores for Weed Beach, Pam? Because we can certainly take the afters.
Yes.
Good.
So we also need to craft whether or not, I mean, we did get additional money. So now we have to figure out how we're going to use that additional money and whether or not we need more.
Correct.
Right. So the 18,000, how we're using that 18,000, is that 18,000 going to be sufficient come next July? Because we are using our park crew rather than using an outdoor vendor, which does change things.
But there are so many of those trees out there, Pam. They're everywhere.
Right.
Those tree of heavens. And the mugwort is everywhere too.
Well, I suppose when I get the quote from the vendors on the trees that my guys can't take down, that will give us a pretty solid answer.
Okay. Okay.
Did any of you happen to see the article in the Stamford Advocate about Waveney Park?
When was that, Laura?
This is Monday, October 9th. They are budgeting $125,000 to remove invasives from Waveney.
What was the date of the article? October 9th?
October 9th.
And it was in the Stamford Advocate.
Stamford Advocate.
And it was only for Waveney Park?
Only for Waveney Park.
And what was the amount?
That's
125,000.
125K for how many acres?
It's just one section. I don't know how many acres.
Okay.
A quarter of the park's 82 acres were invasive free. So
a quarter were invasive free, which meant
Right.
3/4 was
3/4 of it. Yeah.
okay.
Invasives.
I mean, what I'd like to propose for us to think about is, we tackle Cherry Lawn because that was a very well identified mess.
Yes.
And we tackled the back section of Weed Beach was a very well identified mess. it seems what we need to do in this working group is really do a park by park assessment
And
of what needs to be done, so
Yes.
that we can set more almost a long range plan. And I don't know that that's doing something akin to our park tours, but just for this committee that's focused on invasives. And then Laura, you and Joanne would have to guide us on the right time of year to do that so we can see what we need to see. But, I just don't have a sense, for instance, about some of our other parks. Like, I'm kind of assuming Pear Tree doesn't have a real invasive issue, but I don't know if that's, is that right or is that not right? Or you think about, the nature
Well-
preserves. Now we have a lot more help from like the Selks Woods folks, but Woodland Park on a 1 to 10 scale, is it like a 2, not so bad, or is it an 8? I have no understanding of that. So I really think we need to know for all of our parks, what are we talking about to come up with more of a long range plan, both for what do we need to tackle, and then also in terms of what is maintenance going to look like for the crews, because this isn't a one and done. We've basically added this work onto the crew, and they're going to have to keep after it forever.
Right.
So I don't have a good view of, Laura, maybe just because you can't not see this stuff as you go around town, and maybe you have a good sense of what condition the rest of the parks are with regard to invasives. But I know I certainly don't know. Like, I've walked through the back of Baker Park, and to my eye, I'm like, yeah, this looks pretty good. I don't see a lot of those vines choking the trees or whatever, but I'm a layperson. I just don't know. So if we were to do something like that, what kind of time of year do you need to do it, Laura?
You want to do it before the leaves are gone, because they're really hard to identify.
Once they're not there, yeah.
So it's like now.
Now,
Yeah. Yeah. And what's great is everything's going to fruit now. So if it's a berry bearing plant, you see the berries now, and that makes it even easier to identify.
can we schedule such a tour?
We can.
Okay.
When would you like to go walking?
Well, when it's not raining, first of all.
So that means not a Saturday.
Yeah, true.
In the last 15 out of 20 weekends.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Mary Louise, you're working, so it's probably
Well,
more around.
I could take
your
some
schedule.
time off to do
Okay.
this.
Okay. Well, why don't you and Laura
Want
work
to
on
do it next week? Week after?
I should have my calendar with me at the moment. I don't.
Mary
Um,
Louise, why don't you send us just
a couple of choices.
send a follow-up?
couple
with
of choices, and then those of us that can join will,
Okay. All
and then
right,
see what works for Laura. And yeah,
I'll try to work it out in terms of AccuWeather, in terms of what the projection is weather-wise and so on.
okay. But just so, again, I know what I don't know, and I think to then go to the commission in terms of saying, this is the right amount of money, or geez, we really need this because this park's in really, really bad shape. And then,
Right.
Sandy needs to weigh in on, this is something the crew can tackle, or no, we just don't have the manpower. I mean, we just need to be, I think, looking longer term on this.
Agreed.
Okay. And really getting our arms around what's a priority, and then kind of rank what are the biggest priorities based on what, you guys say, Laura, and say, this is really bad. You guys really want to get on this.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we all have our marching orders here. Is there anything else for new business?
No.
So I think we can adjourn. And our next meeting will be Tuesday, November. Pam, are you?
Sorry, I thought you were looking at the calendar.
No, I should have, I left it in the other
I'll
room.
look at it. Hold on, let's see. So the next meeting is in November. Let's see. Invasive. 21,
Okay.
November 21, Tuesday, 7:00.
Okay.
I probably will not make that meeting, but go ahead without me.
All
And
right.
we are adjourning at 7:37, Patty.
And then Mary Louise, you're gonna send something around saying here are some dates.
Correct.
What
Correct.
works for the core group of y'all or us, and we'll try and also do a walking tour, so to speak, in the next week or two. It sounds like.
Terrific.
All right. So adjourned at do we need to make
7:37.
yes
Bye,
7:30.
everybody.
All
All right.
right.
Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good meeting.
Okay.